We're going to go ahead and talk to some more folks at home too. We are going to try this call. We have the Unworthy Emanual calling in from Texas. The Unworthy Emanual, you are live on Truth
Emmanuel?
Wanted. What's up?
Emmanuel, is that you?
Hello? Hello, Dan.
Hi. Is that
Hi,
you?
how are you?
I just spoke with Nikki the other day. It was
Hi, Emmanuel. Hi. Yeah, Jimmy told me that Jimmy told me that you told him you ruined his life, or you ruined wait. Jimmy said that you said Jimmy ruined your life. That's what he said.
Jimmy. Yeah, I was just being sarcastic and joking.
I know.
They thought it was like serious and stuff, and he just hanged up.
I know.
And I was like, what?
Jimmy's.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm totally missing this context here, but I'm glad that you're calling into this show. I guess you were on a different call-in show a few days ago. Is that what happened?
I was on with Jimmy.
Yeah, it was on the line. Yeah.
On
Okay,
the line.
gotcha.
And
Okay,
Emmanuel
gotcha.
called in, and yeah, it's.
All right, Emmanuel. Now you're on Truth Wanted. So what do you want to talk to us about?
Yeah, I just want to talk about constitutional flaw. You know, I'm not American, so there was a Constitution article in the American Constitution that's similar with the home country that I grew up. And I thought that amendment, right? I'm sorry?
Ethiopia?
Yeah, it's kind of similar. You know, in Ethiopia, we have like an article that says separation of church and state, right? So I don't actually agree that we need a secular state. So I think, you know, if this was a majority atheist country or a majority agnostic country, then it should be led by a secular constitution or secular law. But if this is a majority Christian country, it's got to be led by the church. So, just like a Muslim country is led by a Sharia law, when it comes to Christian country, a majority of people are Christians. Oh, suddenly it's got to be like a secular state. I don't actually understand it. It doesn't make sense to me, you know.
Let me explain. That is a hot take, Emmanuel. That's spicy. That's a spicy take right there. Let me explain why the separation of church and state is incredibly important. Okay. Now, America, ironically, doesn't, you know, it's funny because other countries like the United Kingdom, for example, do not have a constitution that requires a separation of church and state. In fact, as a lot of government money actually goes to church institutions, and yet the England as a whole is less religious than the United States. Kind of a weird thing. But politicians in this country will still use religion, of course, to, you know, mobilize a base, get people going, because they know what wedge issues are in those communities, like abortion, for example, and we'll try to get people to the polls. That being said, the fact that we do have the separation of church and state means that we do not get to live under the majority of Christian rule as a tyranny, okay? If you let some people, particularly Christian nationalists in this country, right, or people who espouse Christian nationalist beliefs, even if they don't call themselves that, they would put their rules, their ideas of religious liberty, their ideas of marriage, their ideas of what a woman should be, their ideas of you know, everything you can think of on the rest of the people in this country who aren't Christian, right? And so that's a problem for me because I'm not a Christian, right? And I would say it is a problem also for folks that do live under Sharia law who are not Muslim. And even if they are Muslim, even if they are Christian, they are still subject to these to these hypothetical laws, right? That could happen that would negate their freedoms ultimately, right? Like if it were up to Christian nationalists, like if they were still in power, like if they came into power during the time of the forming of this country, women would not have the right to vote right now, right? Like that's not something that they would want. Abortion access in this country is being threatened by people who who have religious views that want to subjugate others to those religious views, even though they may not hold. I mean, this covers a wide variety of topics here, and it's one of the things why an organization like the Atheist Community of Austin exists, so that we can promote why the separation of church and state is good, not just for Christians, not just for atheists, but for everybody who cares about individual liberties and freedom. Really free, like the most American thing ever, right? So anyway.
And which Christians are making the laws? Because
Yeah.
if you ask my mom if abortion should be legal, she would say absolutely not. But if you ask my aunt, she would say it would, or should be, and they're both Christians.
Yeah.
So which Christians get to actually enact these laws? Who do we listen to?
Yeah. So there you go, Emmanuel. What do you think?
Here's the thing. Yeah, I gotta, you said you keep like pointing to the negative stuff, but I don't know why you think this is a negative idea where a rabbi actually said, share your money with people, or, respond good.
It's not a Christian nationalist idea.
And all of the things, you gotta throw all that out, and you just gotta pick what's the definition of marriage or whatever. Maybe me and you might disagree what a marriage is, but so you said what kind of Christian do you think? I mean, I gotta say, a Christianity that's true is just like, it's like an umbrella that qualifies for all Christianity. For example, what I think is, if we have laws that are ruled under the rules of Christianity, I think the majority of Christians will agree, will have a common ground.
Won't.
I disagree.
I don't think there's any
no.
Emmanuel, let me tell you why.
My brother is a Christian, and my brother is a gay man. My brother is a Christian, and my brother is a gay man. So how do you think he would vote or set up laws? See, being a Christian is not a monolith. People who are Christians have different ideas and different views. And that is kind of the beauty of it, but also the curse as well, because people claim that their ideals represent the whole group of Christians as a entirely, but they actually don't.
Yeah. So right now, and I'm not talking about. Listen, Emmanuel. I'm not talking about in the past. Right now, it is technically still illegal for 7 different states. 7 different states have bans on atheists holding office. Okay. Now, whether it would actually come to that in a court of law, what the Supreme Court would rule on, it probably wouldn't hold up. But the fact is, there is a precedent of Christians like in this country, and it's the history of America. America has always been, at least in a majority power, a Christian nation. Now, when I say that, right, obviously there's a book about, Andrew Seidel talked about like why it actually isn't a Christian nation, but like he's talking about some of the individual founders' beliefs. I'm talking about as a mobilizing political force, right? What people have really enacted into law. Christians have had such a huge power, such a huge influence. And yeah, do Christians do good things for people? Obviously. Okay, sure. But the thing is, anybody can do good things for people. The negative stuff that we're talking about are unique to religious perspectives. Get this. What atheist out there is going to ban gay marriage? Why would they do that?
Some might.
I mean, maybe, but like vast majority, right? That's not going to happen. Same thing with like abortion care, right? Like most atheists are in support of that kind of healthcare. I mean, like there's all kinds of progressive statutes that would be in place for a secular government to have that benefits everybody, not just atheists, but benefits everyone who cares about wanting and having these individual liberties that, quite frankly, a Christian nationalist nation, if they stuck to their guns, would not allow, wouldn't want. So
also, why is it the government's business who gets an abortion, who gets married, who they marry? That's not the government's business at all.
Yeah. Anyway, long answers from us. Go ahead.
Here's the thing, right? I'm not saying you can't really be an atheist in a Christian law. It's like there are things that should not be permitted that I think me and you might disagree. Like, can I give a...
Emmanuel, are you still there? I think you cut out. Hello?
Okay. Can I give an example?
Sure. Sure. Go ahead.
So one time there was a guy that he was half Jewish and he was half I think Midianite or something like that, and he blasphemed against God, right? So God told Moses that they should stone him to death because he has spit out the holy name, right? So there are laws, or there are things that are in the New Testament, Old Testament, that are given to community as a whole. So the Bible was not written for individual purposes or individual beliefs. It talks about a community that should rely on that belief.
Do you want to live in a community that stones people? I'm confused why you're using this story.
Holy fucking Christ. All right. Should I be stoned?
No, because we are under the New Testament. So
why bring it up, right? Then?
What I'm saying, I'm sorry.
I'm trying to understand your point. You're saying that we're not under these laws anymore because this was the laws established for these communities. What does that have to do with us today?
In bringing up that one particular story about Moses punishing or stoning someone who cursed God's name, but then also saying simultaneously that these laws are not just for that person, but for others as well.
Yeah. What she said.
Yeah, and there are also ideas in the Old and New Testament that you have to keep your land holy. So we don't want to see unclean things going around where we're living. It's really, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't want to live.
I actually don't know what you're saying, to be honest, Emmanuel. God. I feel like, look, here's the thing. The stoning thing you just mentioned is a terrible story. Like, I don't want to live in that community. I don't want to be governed by a community that thinks that that's a good thing or ever thought that was a good thing. Okay. Or justifies that in some sort of way. I mean, that's the perfect example. You couldn't have given a worse example for our point, right? Like, listen, and people, and the Salem witch trials, if anything, have shown that, like, if you given enough control and power, a group will kill other people for being an outsider, right? For acting against the perceived order, right? The hierarchy. And like, that's what Christianity is. It is a hierarchy, right? It is telling people that Christians are more pure, more aligned morally with that of God, and God is supposed to be ultimate. And whereas I'm just a dirty sinner. And like, I think a Christian majority nation that actually followed through with that logic would not be good for me and wouldn't be good for other people who aren't Christians.
It wouldn't be good for Christians themselves. They do some pretty horrific things. Like, if we actually stoned adulterers, 90% of Congress would be just done away with.
It's true.
So
very true.
We wouldn't.
Okay. Here's the thing, Dan. I'm not saying you should believe in God or you should be forced to believe in God. I'm just saying you shouldn't blaspheme against God, and you shouldn't be allowed to blaspheme against God. We gotta have a respect and freedom.
Emmanuel, you know what I say to that? I say, fuck you. I say, I will blaspheme God all the goddamn day. You don't get to tell me shit. You know why?
And
because I live in America, motherfucker. I get freedom of speech. Okay, this is like. No, I
come down and say it. Is the Christian God so weak and so sensitive that he can't deal with a few cross words, that he has to start stoning people that talk shit to him? And have them come down and say that to my face.
I'm not saying you should be stoned. Okay, here's the thing. I'm not saying you should be stoned. And if in the case of being stoned, I deserve to be stoned. I don't believe I deserve to leave, right? That's because Jesus died.
Emmanuel, we've had some weird conversations about what you think about yourself and how you would.
I don't think you should. I'm sorry. Things. We're interrupting you, and we don't. I don't mean to do that, but like I get what you're saying. You believe, you have a belief system, right, that says that all people are sinners and therefore all people are worthy of death, right? Like, that is the belief system. The thing is,
I don't worthy of death.
Sure.
Because the punishment of sin is death. Right?
Yes, I understand that. I don't believe that though.
Okay.
But you understand though, Emmanuel? I don't believe that. And wait, let me finish here. I don't believe that, and I don't think you should be judge, jury, and executioner on that either. I don't think other Christians should be able to do that either. The fact is, they were. You just brought up an example of how they did a horrific story of a woman that got stoned, and that's supposed to be God's law that they're following, right?
Today.
So it's like, if we're, I mean, like I know you probably don't personally believe in stoning, but the fact is that group of people did, and people are still today. Modern Christians in this country, maybe they're not going to stone people to death, but they are going to horribly discriminate against those who don't have the same kinds of beliefs, whether it's not selling a cake to somebody or just like death. I mean, people do die. Let's be real. There are hate crimes that are committed in the act of Christianity. And that's just the fact. Like, I can't, the fact that you believe that all humans have this sin to them and that, you know, we should actualize on that doesn't give you the right to put that on everyone else that doesn't think the same way. It really doesn't. So
Dan, I'm not saying let's stone people who blaspheme God. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, okay, here's the thing, right?
But you think I should what? You think I should be jailed? Do you think I should be fined? Like, why do you think I need to be punished for that?
You should be
like
you should be fined. That would be a good.
It's like a government swear jar or something like that.
Like I had to pay $300 or something for every time.
Put it into the
like a parking ticket. Yeah.
Put it into the blasphemy jar.
That I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm a better righteous guy than you. We're all sinners. That's what I believe, right? If you break one of God's laws, you're a sinner automatically, right? So
I'm not a sinner.
You know, Jesus paid the price. Jesus paid the price of death for you to be free. So I'm not saying you should die because
no, he didn't.
What's the point of you dying?
Jesus didn't pay the price for sin because sin isn't a thing.
Look, I mean, look again. I understand that you believe that, but I don't. Yep. So it really doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
No. I just want to clear up to you. I'm not saying you deserve that. I'm not saying that.
Wait, you do. You literally just said I deserve death under the eyes of God. You're just saying you won't kill me, but you're saying God has a right to kill me.
God has a right to kill you, but I don't have the right to kill you.
So I am worthy of death.
Of human lives. So am I. I'm also worthy of death.
You know, but that doesn't listen. But for some reason, okay, that gave somebody the right to stone somebody to death at some point in time. Okay, and that kind of mentality, it has happened and it will happen again if people have that kind of power. Listen, Emmanuel, we've got some other people we got to talk to. I'm sorry, we've been on this call for a bit, but we got to let you go. I sincerely do appreciate you calling in and giving your perspective. Okay, that's a spicy take. Okay, and I like the spice. But like, let's talk about this a different time. Maybe can you call in next week, and maybe I'll have a different host, and we can continue this conversation. How does that sound?
I will.
Good to talk to you again. Bye.
God bless you, man.
All right, have a good one.
Bye, man.
Yeah. Listen, most Christians I know before the last couple of years, I think would agree that the separation of church and state is a good thing.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was a pretty bipartisan agreement, except for like the really fundamentalists,
I know a lot of people that wish that the country was a theocracy, but the problem is that Christians don't all have the same ideas. And every time people say that Christianity provides a subjective morality, I always give this one example: my mom and my aunt and abortion. That one example completely negates that statement. That Christianity provides for objective morality and a Christian theocracy would be agreed upon by all Christians, and how it was executed would be agreed upon. That's just not true.
It's not true. It has never been true, and that's true for any religious body. That's true for any political party and political institution, by the way, too. Like you listen. You want to know the people who argue the most? Fucking like Marxists and communists. Okay, like they'll always talk about which is the real communism. And I mean, like with like libertarian circles, you can do this for Republican and Democrat circles. I mean, like it's this kind of puritanism that happens always shows up in these conversations. So I'm not convinced that a Christian, I'm not convinced a Christian theocracy would solve any of that.
No, probably make things more contentious.
Yeah, But of course, right, if you're a Christian, you're interested in a Christian theocracy. Imagine my shock, right? Imagine
well,
my
your
shock,
version of a Christian theocracy,
right.
because even at the dinner table on Thanksgiving, it's can't even agree on that.
Yeah.
And that's within the same family. Try to get millions of people to come to a conclusion based on their Christian views.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah,
it's not
I
the
agree.
thing.